What if I told you that one tiny $8 part from Amazon could save you over $1,200 in mechanic bills, yet almost nobody knows it exists? This isn't clickbait. This is the secret the automotive repair industry quietly hopes you never discover. Today, I'm pulling back the curtain on the single most overlooked component that's causing catastrophic failures in thousands of cars every single month. And the crazy part? The fix costs less than two large pizzas. I'm going to show you exactly what this part is, why it fails, what happens when it does, and how to install it yourself in under 20 minutes with zero special tools. But before we dive in, hit that subscribe button right now because this channel is dedicated to saving you money, protecting your car, and exposing the repair tricks that mechanics charge hundreds for. Let's get started. The part I'm talking about is the PCV valve. 3 letters that most drivers have never heard of, yet it controls one of the most critical processes happening inside your engine every single second it runs. PCV stands for positive crankcase ventilation, and this valve's job is to redirect harmful gases and pressure out of your engine's crankcase and back into the intake manifold where they can be burned off safely. Sounds simple, right? But when this valve fails, and they all do eventually, the chain reaction it triggers can destroy your engine seals, ruin your turbocharger, trash your catalytic converter, and even blow your head gasket. And here's the kicker. Most mechanics never check it during routine service. They wait until something catastrophic happens, then charge you for the damage, not the cause. Let me paint the picture of what happens inside your engine when the PCV valve clogs or sticks. Every time your pistons move, they create pressure inside the crankcase. That pressure needs an escape route, or it starts building up like a balloon being overfilled. A working PCV valve releases that pressure in a controlled way. But when the valve gets clogged with oil sludge, carbon deposits, or simply wears out from age, that pressure has nowhere to go. So it does what pressure always does. It finds the weakest point and forces its way out. That means oil starts leaking from your valve cover gasket, your rear main seal, your front crankshaft seal, and even your oil pan gasket. Suddenly, you've got oil spots on your driveway, blue smoke from the exhaust, a burning oil smell, and a check engine light screaming at you. You take it to a mechanic, and they quote you $800 for a valve cover gasket replacement, $600 for a rear main seal, and another $400 for labor. That's over $1,800 in repairs, when the real problem was an $8 valve that takes 15 minutes to replace. But it gets worse. In turbocharged engines, a failed PCV valve doesn't just leak oil, it can actually force oil into the turbocharger's intake side, flooding the compressor wheel and intercooler with liquid oil. When that happens, your turbo starts burning oil, your intercooler clogs, and your engine starts running rich because it's getting oil instead of clean air. Repair shops see this all the time in Volkswagens, Audis, BMWs, Subarus, and Ford EcoBoost engines. The customer comes in complaining about rough idle, poor acceleration, and oil consumption. The shop runs a diagnostic, finds a failed turbo, and quotes $2,200 for a replacement. But nobody checks the PCV valve first. They just replace the expensive part and send you on your way. 3 months later, the same problem comes back because the root cause was never addressed. That's not bad luck. That's bad diagnosis. And it's costing drivers thousands of dollars every single day. Now, let's talk about catalytic converters. A clogged PCV valve causes excessive oil vapor to get sucked into the intake manifold. That oil vapor enters the combustion chamber, burns incompletely, and gets pushed out into the exhaust. Your catalytic converter isn't designed to handle oil. It's built to process gasoline emissions. When oil starts coating the catalyst substrate inside, the converter slowly loses efficiency. Eventually, it triggers a P0420 code, catalyst efficiency below threshold. You take it to a shop, they scan it, and they tell you that you need a new catalytic converter. That repair ranges from $800 to $1,500 depending on the car. But again, the real issue wasn't the cat. It was the PCV valve that let oil contaminate the exhaust in the first place. Replace the valve early, and the cat never fails. Here's a real-world example. A 2015 Honda Accord owner started noticing oil pooling on top of the engine near the valve cover. He ignored it for a few weeks, assuming it was a minor leak. Then the check engine light came on. He took it to a dealership. They diagnosed a failed valve cover gasket and quoted him $720 for parts and labor. He declined and decided to investigate himself. After some research, he found that the PCV valve, located right on the valve cover, was completely clogged with black sludge. He ordered a new OEM PCV valve on Amazon for $947, installed it in 12 minutes. The oil leak stopped immediately. No gasket replacement needed. He saved over $700 because he found the real problem before the mechanic did. That's the power of understanding your car. The PCV valve doesn't just protect seals and turbos, it also prevents something called crankcase sludge buildup. When blow-by gases, moisture, and fuel vapor sit trapped in the crankcase without proper ventilation, they start forming thick, sticky sludge that coats the inside of your engine. This sludge clogs oil passages, starves bearings, gunks up the oil pickup tube, and eventually leads to catastrophic engine failure. In fact, the number one cause of sludge in modern engines isn't bad oil or long intervals, it's failed PCV systems. Engineers at Toyota and Honda have published internal reports showing that PCV valve failure accelerates sludge formation by over 60% in engines that otherwise follow proper maintenance schedules. That means you could be changing your oil every 3,000 miles with full synthetic and still end up with a sludged engine if your PCV valve is stuck closed. So, why don't mechanics check this part? Honestly, because it's not profitable. A PCV valve costs $8 to $20 depending on the car. The labor to replace it is maybe 15 minutes, which translates to half an hour of billable time at most shops. That's a $50 job. But if they let the valve fail and wait for the damage to happen, they can charge you for gaskets, seals, turbos, catalytic converters, and even engine rebuilds. I'm not saying every mechanic is dishonest, but I am saying the business model doesn't reward prevention. It rewards repair, and that's why you need to take control of your own vehicle maintenance. Let's talk symptoms. How do you know if your PCV valve is failing right now? There are 8 warning signs, and if you're experiencing even 2 of them, you need to check this part immediately. Number 1, rough or high idle. If your car idles unevenly or the RPMs bounce around at stoplights, a stuck open PCV valve could be letting in unmetered air, confusing the engine's air-fuel ratio. Number 2, whistling or hissing noise from the engine bay. A PCV valve that's stuck or cracked often makes a high-pitched noise because air is being pulled through a restricted or broken passage. Number 3, oil leaks around the valve cover, oil cap, or dipstick tube. Excess crankcase pressure from a clogged PCV valve pushes oil out wherever it can escape. Number 4, blue or white smoke from the exhaust, especially during acceleration. This means oil vapor is being burned in the combustion chamber because the PCV system isn't managing it properly. Number 5, increased oil consumption. If you're adding a quart of oil every 1,000 miles and there's no visible leak, the PCV valve may be allowing oil to get sucked into the intake. Number 6, check engine light with codes related to lean or rich conditions, misfires, or emissions. A faulty PCV throws off the entire air-fuel balance. Number 7, poor fuel economy. When the engine runs rich or lean because of PCV failure, you burn more fuel to compensate. And number 8, a dirty or oil-soaked air filter. Oil vapor that escapes through a bad PCV valve often ends up coating the intake and air filter in a greasy film. If you're nodding your head to any of those symptoms, don't panic. The fix is easier than you think. Let me walk you through the replacement process step by step so you can do this yourself in your driveway this weekend. First, you need to locate your PCV valve. On most cars, it's attached to the valve cover or intake manifold and connected by a rubber hose or grommet. Some common locations, Honda and Acura models, usually have it on the back of the valve cover near the firewall. Toyota and Lexus often place it on the passenger side of the valve cover. Ford, Chevy, and GM trucks typically mount it in the valley cover or intake plenum. Volkswagen and Audi engines hide it under the intake manifold, which makes access tricky but not impossible. Subaru puts it on the driver's side of the engine block, and BMW usually integrates it into the valve cover itself, which means you replace the entire cover assembly, but those failures are less common. Once you locate it, the removal is straightforward. Most PCV valves simply pull out of a rubber grommet. Some are held in with a clip or small bolt. Grab the valve, twist it gently, and pull it free. Inspect the old valve. Shake it. You should hear a light rattle. That's the internal check valve moving. If it doesn't rattle, it's stuck. If it's covered in black sludge or feels heavy, it's clogged. Either way, it's done. Grab your new valve. Before installing it, clean the grommet and the hose with a rag and some brake cleaner. This prevents debris from entering the new valve. Push the new PCV valve into place until it's seated firmly. Reconnect any hoses or clips. Done. Total time, 10 to 20 minutes depending on accessibility. Now here's the pro tip that saves you even more money. While you've got the PCV valve out, inspect the hoses connected to it. These hoses are rubber and they crack, collapse, or get clogged over time. A collapsed PCV hose creates the same pressure problem as a bad valve. If the hose looks old, brittle, or damaged, replace it. PCV hoses cost $5 to $15 on Amazon or at any auto parts store. It's cheap insurance. Also, check the oil cap. On some engines, the oil cap has a built-in PCV function with a small valve or breather. If that cap is cracked or the seal is damaged, it won't hold crankcase pressure properly. A new oil cap costs $8 to $12. Replacing these small parts together creates a complete PCV system refresh that can extend your engine's life by tens of thousands of miles. Let me share another case study. A 2012 Subaru WRX owner noticed his turbo was making a strange whistling noise, and his oil consumption had doubled in just 3,000 miles. He took it to a Subaru dealership. They diagnosed a failing turbo and quoted him $2,400 for a new turbo and installation. He asked if they checked the PCV valve. They said they didn't need to because the turbo was clearly the problem. He declined the repair and went home. He found a forum post describing identical symptoms caused by a clogged PCV valve on the WRX's EJ motor. He ordered a new valve for $11 on Amazon, installed it in his garage. Within 100 miles, the whistling stopped, the oil consumption dropped, and the turbo ran smooth again. He never needed the $2,400 repair. The PCV valve was forcing pressure into the turbo seals, making it look like the turbo was dying when it was actually just being overwhelmed by crankcase pressure. Here's the thing most people don't understand. The PCV valve is a maintenance item, not a lifetime part. Yet, most owners' manuals never mention it. There's no service interval, no reminder, no warning light. It's expected to last the life of the car, but in reality, it doesn't, especially in cars that do a lot of short trips, sit in traffic, or run in cold climates where moisture accumulates faster. The valve gets gummed up with oil vapor, carbon, and condensation. It sticks, and once it sticks, the damage begins. The smart move is to replace your PCV valve every 50,000 to 70,000 miles as preventive maintenance, regardless of whether you have symptoms. That's what high-mileage car owners do. That's what fleet managers do. And that's what keeps engines running past 300,000 miles without major repairs. Now, let's address the elephant in the room. Why is this so cheap on Amazon when mechanics charge so much? Because the part itself has almost no margin. A dealership PCV valve might cost $25. An aftermarket one costs $8. The real money is in the labor and the diagnostic fee. Shops charge $100 to $150 just to diagnose the problem. Then they charge labor to replace it. But when they find oil leaks caused by a bad PCV valve, they don't tell you about the valve. They sell you the gasket job because that's where the profit is. It's not necessarily malicious. It's just how the business works. They're trained to fix the visible problem, not hunt for the root cause. But you're smarter than that now. You know the hidden connection. You know the $8 part that prevents the $1,200 disaster. Let's talk about specific car models that are notorious for PCV valve failures. Volkswagen and Audi 2.0T engines, especially from 2008 to 2014, have a poorly designed PCV system integrated into the valve cover. When it fails, it causes massive oil consumption, fouled spark plugs, and carbon buildup. The dealer charges over $600 for a new valve cover assembly, but savvy owners replace just the PCV components for under $50 using aftermarket kits. Ford EcoBoost engines, particularly the 1.6 and 2.0 liter versions, suffer from PCV valve failures that lead to oil in the intercooler and turbo issues. Replacing the valve early prevents turbo damage that costs thousands. Subaru's EJ25 engine, found in models from 2000 to 2019, has a PCV system that clogs easily, especially in cars driven hard or in cold climates. A $12 valve saves head gasket and turbo repairs. BMW N54 and N55 engines experience PCV valve failures that cause rough idle oil leaks and even valve cover cracks from excessive pressure. The OEM part costs $40, but it saves you from a $1,500 valve cover replacement. Honda and Acura V6 engines from the J-Series family have PCV valves that fail and cause oil consumption and VCM system issues. And General Motors' 3.6-liter V6, used in everything from Camaros to Acadias, has a PCV system that fails and causes timing chain problems because of sludge buildup. All of these issues trace back to a part that costs less than $20. I know what some of you are thinking. If this part is so important, why isn't it more expensive? Shouldn't critical parts cost more? That's a fair question. But the truth is, cost doesn't equal importance in automotive design. A head gasket costs $50, but failing to replace it can destroy a $5,000 engine. A timing belt costs $80, but skipping it can bend every valve in your motor. The PCV valve is the same. It's cheap because it's simple. It's a spring-loaded check valve with a rubber grommet. No electronics, no sensors, no complex machining. But its function is critical. It's the release valve for pressure that would otherwise tear your engine apart from the inside. And because it's so cheap, it gets ignored. Nobody thinks a $10 part can cause $2,000 in damage, but it absolutely can. And it does, every single day. Now here's the part where I show you how to test your PCV valve without even removing it. This takes 60 seconds and requires zero tools. Step 1. Start your engine and let it idle. Step 2. Carefully remove the oil cap while the engine is running. Step 3. Place your hand loosely over the oil filler hole. You should feel a slight vacuum or suction pulling your hand toward the opening. If you feel strong suction, your PCV system is working. If you feel pressure pushing out, or if the oil cap wants to pop off, your PCV valve is clogged or stuck. That pressure should not be escaping through the oil cap. It should be flowing through the PCV valve into the intake. This test is fast, free, and incredibly accurate. If you feel pressure instead of vacuum, order a new PCV valve immediately. Don't wait. The damage is already starting. Another test. Pull the PCV valve out and shake it near your ear. You should hear a metallic rattle. That rattle is the internal check ball moving freely. If it doesn't rattle, the valve is stuck closed and needs replacement. You can also try blowing through the valve from the crankcase side. Air should flow in one direction, but not the other. If air flows both ways or doesn't flow at all, the valve is failed. These simple tests can save you a diagnostic fee and confirm the problem before you spend a dime. Let's talk about the financial impact of ignoring this issue. Imagine your PCV valve fails at 80,000 miles. You don't notice the symptoms or you ignore them. By 90,000 miles, your valve cover gasket is leaking. By 95,000 miles, your rear main seal is seeping. By 100,000 miles, your turbo is burning oil, your catalytic converter is clogged, and your spark plugs are fouled. Now you're facing $900 for a valve cover gasket, $650 for a rear main seal, $2,200 for a turbo, $1,100 for a cat, and $300 for plugs and ignition work. That's over $5,000 in repairs, all because of an $8 valve. But if you replace that valve at 70,000 miles as preventive maintenance, you spend $8 in 15 minutes. That's a 62,400% return on investment in terms of money saved. There is no maintenance task on your car that gives you better bang for your buck. None. And here's the bonus. Replacing your PCV valve improves engine performance. A fresh valve restores proper crankcase ventilation, which stabilizes idle, improves throttle response, reduces oil consumption, and can even boost fuel economy by 2 to 5% because the engine isn't fighting against excessive crankcase pressure. Drivers report smoother cold starts, quieter engine operation, and fewer oil leaks within days of replacing a clogged PCV valve. It's one of those rare fixes that makes your car feel newer instantly. Let me tell you about one more case that really drives this home. A 2010 Chevrolet Equinox with a 2.4-liter engine came into a shop with a check engine light and rough idle. The customer complained about terrible fuel economy and a burning oil smell. The mechanic scanned it, found misfire codes on cylinders 2 and 4, and recommended new spark plugs, ignition coils, and a fuel system cleaning. Total cost, $680. The customer paid it. 2 weeks later, the same symptoms returned. The shop said the engine might need a valve job or even a rebuild because compression was low. Quote, $3,200. The customer refused and took the car to an independent mechanic. That mechanic pulled the PCV valve, found it completely clogged with sludge, replaced it for $14, and cleared the codes. The misfire stopped. The idle smoothed out. The fuel economy came back. The first shop missed it entirely because they went straight for the expensive repair without checking the simple stuff first. That's the industry in a nutshell. Now, one more thing, because this is where people get tricked. A lot of drivers replace the PCV valve, the symptoms improve, and they assume they're done. But if your valve was clogged for a long time, your engine may have been living with high crankcase pressure for months or years. That pressure can leave behind damage you don't notice right away. Oil can soak into intake boots, soften rubber hoses, and leave a sticky film inside the throttle body. So even after the valve is fixed, you might still have a slightly rough idle or a minor oil smell for a week or two until the engine cleans itself out. That doesn't mean the new valve failed. It means you stopped the bleeding, and now you're watching the bruises fade. And that's exactly why catching this early matters so much. Here's another under-the-radar reality. Some engines don't use a simple rattling PCV valve anymore. They use a diaphragm-style PCV built into the valve cover, or a plastic separator box, or a maze of ports that looks like it was designed by someone who hates DIY people. And when that diaphragm tears, the symptoms are even weirder. You can get a loud honking noise, a hard-to-remove oil cap, or a sudden lean condition that makes the car run like it's choking. People replace spark plugs, coils, MAF sensors, even fuel pumps, and the whole time, it's a $20 membrane hiding inside a plastic cover. If your car has that style, the principle is the same. Crankcase pressure must be controlled. The only difference is the part you replace isn't always a tiny metal valve. Sometimes it's a small internal insert, sometimes it's the entire cover. Either way, it's still cheaper than the damage it prevents. And if you drive a direct injection engine, pay attention here. Direct injection doesn't wash the intake valves with fuel like older engines did. So when the PCV system is weak, you don't just burn a little oil vapor. You feed oily mist straight into the intake, where it sticks to the valves and bakes into carbon. That's when you start getting hesitation, cold start misfires, and that "my car feels slower than it used to" feeling. People blame the transmission, they blame the turbo, they blame bad gas. But the truth is, PCV problems plus direct injection equals carbon buildup, and carbon buildup equals expensive cleaning bills. Fix the ventilation first, and you slow that carbon problem down dramatically. So here's the smart checklist before you move on. Replace the valve, inspect the hose, check the grommet for cracks, make sure nothing is collapsed or oil soaked, then do the quick oil cap test again and see if the crankcase vacuum comes back. If it does, you just removed a silent engine killer with the same effort it takes to change a light bulb. And now you're not just saving money, you're buying your engine time. So where do you buy this magical $8 part? Amazon, Rock Auto, AutoZone, O'Reilly, Advance Auto, or even eBay. Just make sure you get the right part number for your specific year, make, and model. Don't guess. Look up your VIN or check your owner's manual. OEM parts are always the safest bet. But quality aftermarket brands like Dorman, Standard Motor Products, and AC Delco work great and cost even less. Avoid ultra-cheap no-name brands from overseas. Spend the extra $3 and get a reputable part. Your engine will thank you. And here's the reality check. If you're watching this video, you care about your car. You want it to last. You want to avoid getting ripped off. And you're willing to learn. That puts you ahead of 90% of drivers who just hand over their keys and their wallet and hope for the best. You're taking control. And that control starts with understanding how your car works, what fails, and how to fix it before it becomes a catastrophe. The PCV valve is your first lesson. It's small, it's cheap, it's critical, and now you know. Thanks for sticking with me through this deep dive. If you found this helpful, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. I upload new videos every week that expose the repair industry's secrets, save you thousands, and teach you how to keep your car running strong for hundreds of thousands of miles. Drop a comment below and tell me what car you drive and if you've ever had PCV valve issues. I read every single comment and I'll answer your questions. And if you want to see the next video, check out the one on the screen right now about the 3 fluids you're changing too often that are costing you money for no reason. You're going to want to see that one. All right, let's wrap this up with the action steps. Step 1. Go check your PCV valve this weekend using the tests I showed you. Step 2. If it's bad, or if your car has over 60,000 miles and you've never replaced it, order a new one right now. Step 3. Install it yourself or have a trusted friend or mechanic do it. Step 4. Inspect the hoses and oil cap while you're in there. Step 5. Enjoy a smoother running engine and the satisfaction of saving over $1,000. That's it. Simple, cheap, effective. This is how you beat the repair shops at their own game. Stay smart, stay informed, and keep your car running forever.